back. Today we're going to talk a little bit about enums. That's spelled out like this, or just enum for the singular. Okay, so what is an enum? An enum looks something, is a type, and it looks something like this. Basically, you declare it as enum type, and you give it a name, which kind of highlights it similar to like a class, although it's not a class. It's basically just a collection of values. The values are generally strings, some sort of string representation of some sort of type, and these directly correlate to some sort of integer. If you don't declare the integer, then they start off with being 0, so usually you don't necessarily need to do that. So basically, this would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or some other arbitrary value that you put in there. But generally, a lot of times, you don't necessarily need values in there because you're going to directly use that in your code. You might think, okay, why would I need an enum? Well, you've probably used enums before, you just might not have realized that you used them. So let's go over here and give an example. Let's do a string. And one of the operations that you might do a lot would be string split. So for example, let's just, we don't worry about that. One of the things you might do with string split is you might split that, and let's just split on all of these. Anytime that this character exists, we're going to split the string. Obviously in this example it's not going to happen, but I'm just going to show you one of the places where you might run across an enum. So this particular method has 6 overloads to it, the split method. 6 overloads, referring to this split right here. One of those overloads is as follows. I'll bring back up the IntelliSense thing. Okay, so basically this one here is that one. The one I'm looking for is this one right here. See where it says string split options? That type, in fact, it might actually show us in the wording here. Okay, it tells us what options are available. String split options, remove empty entries, and string split options, none. So, if we put it in there, we notice that 2 things pull up, none and remove empty entries. So this right here is an enum. Basically, it's giving us 2 choices. It's giving us, we can either not, it says return the value that includes an array that contain empty strings. So this won't get rid of the empty strings that get kicked back, and this one will remove the empty entries. So let's just finish that out. So basically this type, string split options, is the name of an enum, and enum is the type that it is. So if we hover over that, you can actually see it says enum. So enum is that type. Whereas just if you hover over that right there, you can see that that's a class string, so string would be the type. So you've probably used them a lot. That's just one case you might have used them. You also run into them in regex and other places. So let's see, what are they useful for? Over here, we've got our enum here, days of the week. And say, for example, in our program, we have some sort of method that we need to call, and the user does the method. Let's just create it over here just to make this easy to see. So and we're going to call it days to run. So we're going to have some sort of task that's going to run for a certain amount of days. And what we're going to want to have in that task is we're going to want to know which days to run it. So instead of having the person, one way you could do it is days to run. This would be the kind of the not good way to do it. So you could say, okay, pass me I'm going to stick this inside of here, sorry. one I was kept marking. Okay. In fact, I'm just going to make this static. Okay. So we need some days to run. They might just pass it in a string, but the problem is that if they pass it in a string, they could do anything. They could do something like that. You know, they might return it like you know, the full word. There's lots of different choices in ways in which they could return this string. So that gets kind of messy. I mean, they would have to look at our code and see what we were expecting to get. The easiest thing to do in this situation, if we write this class and we want someone else to consume it, would be to expect an enum. That way, with an enum, they can very quickly see what are the possible values. So let's go ahead and put this enum in here. Oops. Days week. Okay. Okay. Alright, so we've got our enum. Let's call it Dow, days a week. So if Dow is equal to Friday, whoops, we're going to do something here. Oops, wrong equals. Can't spell here. Alright, so let's just not get too wrapped up in this example right here. Basically, we've got a method that does something, might run a schedule or whatever, and we're going to expect an enum as opposed to, which is a strongly typed, as opposed to, as opposed to just asking for a string that might not contain the characters that we want. Okay, so over here, the person who's consuming that method is going to get the following. That's going to be super helpful. So they're going to get, what do we call it, test array. This is an old example. What do we want? Days to run. Okay, so immediately it's telling us that we need a days of week. So we're like, okay, let's check and see what we've got available to us. Boom, right there. All we have to do is just put the enum in, and it actually gives it right to us, the one we need, and it gives us our options. So we're locked into a certain set of inputs that we can put in there. So that's a very useful way to use enums. Enums also have the ability to add multiple values to that enum. So for example, if we wanted to run it on multiple days, we could say, we could go ahead and create our days of the week enum, and we can set it equal to, we want it to run on Sunday, and we want it to run on Monday. Okay, so instead of passing in like that directly in, we could go ahead and do it like this, basically allowing us to put multiple values into this method here, and they're both strongly typed, and there's no wishy-washiness of what the user is going to give you when you're actually writing your method down here. So that's a very good reason to use enums. Okay.